There we are. She's coming in. Hey,
Good
how are
morning.
you?
Good. How's it going?
Great.
Where do
Nice to
I
see.
where do I find you today?
I am in Los Angeles.
Cool, same.
Yeah, gorgeous day. Got hot so fast.
What happened? It's summer all of a sudden. I was
I
not
know.
prepared for this.
I live in Manhattan Beach. You know how that marine layer blows in? And I would
Yeah,
drive in, to come to the office or something, grab something, and I'm like, it's like 90 degrees today. It came
I
out of
know.
nowhere.
It's really intense.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise,
Let me let,
finally.
let me let me make this official. We got to do an introduction.
Okay.
I am so happy to have actress, director, producer, entrepreneur, and activist. I know that's a long list of things.
Wow.
Sophia Bush. She's also got a podcast. I listened to a couple episodes recently
Oh,
called
thank
Work in
you.
Progress, and I like that title.
Thank you so much.
You've had a lot of cool people to interview, and I was kind of going through your list the other day. Who's been your favorite guest?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. It's interesting because I think it depends on subject matter, as far
Right.
as people who I admire and have so much respect for and feel like I've learned so much from. Interviewing Gloria Steinem was wild. Interviewing Secretary John Kerry was so cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, Especially to talk to him, about how climate especially stands to, granted we're in the midst of a crisis, but it stands to be the great uniter for kind of all sides of the political spectrum if we get it together. um,
Big if.
and I would think that a community like this one where so many people are focused on their health, hopefully that's a place we could all go together.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of interviews where I just feel like I learn so much and I leave so inspired. And then this week, actually today, we posted an interview with my friend Kate Bosworth, and to talk to her about creativity and how to be vulnerable when you lead a public life, and the kinds of conversations she and I have offline, to then bring that out and do that in front of people feels really special. And so I think they're all very dear to me for different reasons.
It's really interesting what you do in that. I think one of the first ones I listened to was I lost her name, but you guys were getting real. I mean, you were talking about insecurities, and
Oh, yeah.
and she was talking about going through school and how attached she was to her the praise that she got from her teachers, and how she had kind of started lying. And I was really fascinated about how real you get. And I was thinking about this, like, if you could have like someone you haven't had before, a guest, and are you ever nervous that they won't go past that real private part of things? Because I feel like the way you tee it up, it almost feels natural.
Yeah,
You know?
it honestly, it always has been, but I think as an interviewer, and I think it feels really clear to me sort of motivationally, because I studied journalism in college. I think that you have to create a space that welcomes people into a conversation like that, but you
Yeah.
also can't press. If someone doesn't want to go there, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think there's always so many interesting things to discuss. But I like to get into the meat of things with people for sure.
Who's on your list you still want to have on as a guest? Who's like your top three?
Oh man. I'd love to have Michelle Obama come on.
Oh, she's amazing.
She's the most inspiring person, and I was so lucky I got to do quite a bit of campaigning for President Obama, both elections, and I got to work with them on some things. I worked closely with the First Lady on Let Girls Learn, and she's every bit as cool as you want her to be or hope she would be, and then some. And I think that her strength and grace is just so exemplary. And so in a time like this, when people really, it seems to me like people are sort of struggling to feel like they've got leaders they can look up to. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be so cool to hear from her. But I also really respect that she's like, I deserve a break. We did that for a long time, and people were sort of horrible. I'm like,
Seriously.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Well,
Like,
I'll send out
write books
vibes.
and be a mom and like keep changing the world. But yeah, like you deserve a moment.
I'll send out vibes to have her universe collide with your universe.
Cool, thanks.
You just mentioned you grew up in LA. How has LA influenced you? I mean, I've been here for 20 years. I didn't grow up here. But
Are you from Canada?
No, I grew up in Utah.
Oh, you grew up in Utah. Oh,
Yeah,
I got my wires crossed there.
Don't hold that against me.
What part of Utah?
Just north of Salt Lake, in the
Oh,
mountains.
so beautiful. I love it there. I love.
It's a great place to grow up for sure.
Yeah. I think LA, I feel really lucky having grown up here because LA is very different, I think, than what a lot of people think that it is. And a lot of the stuff that LA gets like a bit of a reputation for always makes me laugh because I'm like, yeah, but that's from all the people who move here. Like, you know, I grew up here playing in the ocean and being out in the woods and being in national parks and hiking, and you know, there's like the Angeles Crest National Forest that's here that's so magical. And you know, I spent time on Pismo Beach in Central California and up in the Sierras every summer as a kid at summer camp. LA for me was a really outdoor centric place to grow up, and it was such a dream. You know, having access to those kinds of public lands is huge, and especially at a time like this, you know, with the virus and everyone having to be quarantined, I just think about how grateful I am to have a backyard. You know,
to be able to, big backyard.
Oh, to be able to get some nature and like, it's such a gift, and I don't take it for granted. And it's been pretty cool to be home and to be like gardening and cooking, and I'm just like, yeah, this is a vibe. There's just a different thing when you can like walk into your backyard and grab a lemon off a tree. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this Martha Stewart thing that's happening here? I love this.
As I'm listening to you talk and explain that, it is different to hear you say that, because I think people's idea of LA is like Hollywood and Beverly Hills and all that stuff, but you didn't mention any of that. And I think I meet people that grew up here in LA, obviously over the years, and I blurt out, "Oh, you're a unicorn," because you don't find those natives to LA very often. And when you do, it's like that California commercial where they're hand gliding and they're in the national parks, and they're like, there's so much more to California than the streets of Hollywood. Thank God.
Well, and it's funny because there's such that there is, you know, such a sort of assumption that LA has solely to do with the entertainment industry, and I know that that's ironic since I work in it, but I'm like, I don't have that many friends who are actors. I don't know. There's so much more to this place in, you know, design and iconic architecture and art and libraries, and there's like so many cool artist communities here, and great authors and chefs, and I don't know. I love how diverse and varied LA is.
A couple of years after I moved here, a buddy of mine lived in Venice, and we just took a weekend. It was actually Apollo Ono, and he was like, "Hey, we're going to go around to these art galleries." I said, "What art galleries?" And we just took a weekend. It was like a Saturday, and we went in. There was a garage, and there was a warehouse, and then it was someone's house. And just walking through and realizing how much of that was really in LA, but it's not on the billboards and all over the place. So it really, it's interesting you brought that up, because it really did help me appreciate this city for the things that are really here and not what's being advertised as being here.
Yeah.
You're super active. And I think just hearing you talk about being out camping and hiking, this has had to have been tough for you to find a way to maintain your wellness routine, whatever that is, and with boundaries. Because as you're talking, it didn't feel like you could really do whatever you wanted to. What have you had to do? What have you had to tweak? What's your wellness routine now that you're dealing with this?
Yeah. I mean, it's been really tricky because, you know, when stay-at-home orders started, again, like being an LA kid growing up here, I'm like, I know where all the sneaky trails are, like unmarked spots. And I was fostering these two dogs who really needed to be like run and exercised. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be responsible, but I'll get up at 5 and I'll go to some of my secret hikes when I know there's no other people out. You know, I'll do some sunrise hikes, and I'll get the pups out and, you know, get them exhausted. And then even my secret hikes got closed. And I was like, turns out those guys at the parks department know all my spots. Not as sneaky as I thought I was. And, you know, you've got to abide by that stuff. Like, yeah, I guess theoretically I could like hop over the caution tape, but like, what a dick move. Like, I'm not doing that.
Totally.
You know, we're all in this together. And so once that stuff actually got shut down, and it wasn't about a socially responsible or distanced outdoor adventure, it was just like, we don't get to do that right now. I was like, okay, I gotta really rethink how this is going to work. And years ago when I was working in Chicago, because it was like so impossible to be outside for so much of the year there, I got a treadmill in my apartment, which I think I used, I don't know, 4 times. It became like a drying rack for my
great
clothes.
idea, though, wasn't it?
Go in the dryer after they'd been in the washing machine. And I was like, cool. So this tells me a lot about myself and where my motivation lies. And apparently it doesn't lie in me being alone in an apartment
on a treadmill
in the dark. But before things got like totally crazy here, I went by my storage unit and I dragged my treadmill out of storage and literally put it in the middle of the den at my house. And my dog is like, what is this machine? Why does it make this noise? But I've been like hitting the treadmill and like,
really?
just like walking and doing like, you know, interval incline things. And I like made a commitment. I've been going back. I started Grey's Anatomy from the beginning, which honestly is so fun. And so I was like, okay, if I want to watch an episode of Grey's or TV, like, why don't I walk for an hour? And then last week or 2 weeks ago, I downloaded the Nike running app. And so, and I hate to run, and everyone knows this. I'm like, I don't run unless I'm being chased. I don't understand why people do this. I think marathoners are crazy. Like, I respect them, but I think they're nuts.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, well, what is that mental thing? Why don't I think I like running? So I ran 2 miles yesterday, which for most people is not a lot, but for me to run 2 miles at like a serious pace is insane.
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah. And so now I'm like integrating running, which honestly, bless you guys. I'm truly so lucky that I know Jamie and thus know Cutter and thus know you guys, because honestly, and like, I don't mean this as a plug. I truly am appreciative of you. He sent me a Theragun for my birthday in July last year. And I use it, but like not all the time, because I train in ways I guess I'm a little more used to. Yeah. And so I'm using it every day now, because it turns out learning to run is very painful. And like my hip flexors don't understand what's happening. I've been integrating like circuit workouts. So I'll run one day and then I'll do a circuit the next day and then I'll run again the next day, because I don't want to overrun and like, you know, give myself a shin splint or something. So I'm so sore now all the time. So thank you. For making a gadget helps, because like I don't know if I would be sustaining this, you know, 16 days into this new program if it wasn't for the help I'm able to give myself because of you.
Yeah, seriously, that's one of the most powerful gifts I think you can give someone, especially right now. And we've had to be tactful about our messaging, but this is the perfect example. You suddenly now have to be creative and use different ways to use your body, and that challenges your body. And then you put tension, and to be able to have something you can release instead of laying there immobile for 2 days because you have DOMs really bad.
Yeah, no.
I know we're getting close to the end. Theragun's had an opportunity to be able to donate Theraguns to medical workers and hospital workers and frontliners. And you just talked about this. I mean, the fact that you can actually have this in your hand, and it doesn't take long. It's like in half an hour. It's just a few minutes. So we've been able to donate to a lot of these healthcare workers, and I think some of them are watching. I want to give you a second to express something to them that would be a message from you.
Oh my gosh. I mean, to your point, I can't imagine. I think about the doctors and the nurses and all the hospital workers, even the janitorial staff that's out there trying to keep these spaces sterile to reduce risk of infection. I'm so in awe of what they're doing and the fearlessness, or maybe it's not even fearlessness, but the commitment to push through the fear and to show up and to take care of people, you know, as these incredible frontline workers. We're so lucky. And I think one of the silver linings of this whole experience, as scary as it is and as tragic as all of this loss of life has been, my hope is that it's woken us up to how we have to take care of each other, and to who the really essential workers are. You know,
Yes.
so often I think hospital workers, grocery store workers, they get overlooked, and thinking about the long hours that these people are working on their feet, the stress that must be happening to their bodies. Like, I'm so glad to know you guys have been able to support them through this time. And yeah, to your point, it's like, it's a weird time to be doing business, but also you've got to, and I'm really grateful to the businesses that have said, like, look, we don't know what this means, but we're going to donate. We're going to give. One of the things my friends and I have been doing is we've been supporting an organization called Frontline Foods. And they've done a really amazing thing. They're in 39 cities and counting, and you can donate whatever you can afford to them. And they work with local restaurants to essentially turn them into caterers for hospital workers. So it's keeping the restaurants open because they're still servicing orders. And then every day they do meal deliveries to ERs and ICUs in, like I said, 39 cities and counting. And so restaurants are kind of able to hold on and not have to go under. And hospital workers are being supported and being given like big, beautiful meals so they can like take a lunch break and have a second. And so I think that in whatever ways we all can, you know, figuring out how to support those folks is so cool. So whether it's like your company donating product, or a bunch of us like citizens who don't have any, like, what am I going to do? FaceTime into a hospital and be like, well, I'm going to do a monologue for you? Like, or horrifying. I can't do that. But, you know, I can figure out ways to, like, in my community and then community at large, you know, raise money for them. There's this very cool app called Cameo where you can like sign up for it. Somebody like in my line of work or a musician or whatever can sign up for it, and people can purchase videos. So like a message for someone's wedding or whatever.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been on Cameo twice. I guess you can like be on it all the time, but I don't think I could manage that. So I've done a thing where their staff like manages it for me, and I go on for 48 hours and raise money for something. So a couple of weeks ago, we did it for Frontline Foods, and I made like all these videos for people's like graduations and bachelorette parties and like birthdays and whatever. And we raised like almost $10,000 to feed healthcare workers. So it's been really cool to see the ways that everybody's figuring out how to give in whatever ways they
What a
can.
cool way to merge everything together.
Yeah.
So it's called Frontline Foods?
Yeah, Frontline Foods.
Is there a website or something?
Yes.
You can plug?
I think it's just frontlinefoods.org, but you can also look up Frontline Foods on Instagram. You can follow them. You can find out what restaurants they work with in your city, and like, you know, whether you can afford to buy a sandwich or like buy out a full lunch for an ER one day. You give what you can, and they're just like, they're amassing all this cash flow, putting it into the hands of like all the restaurants and restaurant workers who have been so impacted by this, and then feeding hospital workers. So it's pretty unbelievable.
It's benefiting everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Sophia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and
yeah.
Frontline Foods, I mean, that's amazing. It's so cool. And I'm going to give Cutter and Jamie a hard time. They didn't keep you stocked up on more Theraguns.
Well, I mean, no, Cutter did great. He sent me one for my birthday, and then actually was very sweet. He sent me 2 more for 2 friends who were like desperate to get them because they were coming over and using mine all the time. So you guys have been like wildly generous, and thank you for being so generous with healthcare.
Yeah, of course. It's a fun gift to give.
Really means a lot. Oh my God. It's honestly the greatest thing ever.
Thanks, Sophia.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it so much.
Stay safe, stay healthy out there.
Good luck with your adopted dogs.
Thank you.
Getting exercise. Maybe they need the treadmill.
Honestly, I just yesterday started watching YouTube videos how to train a dog to run on a treadmill. I'll let you guys know how it goes. I don't have high hopes just yet, but you know, this thing could go on for a while and maybe they'll figure it out.
Probably. Unfortunately, I think it might go on for a minute. Thanks, Sophia. Appreciate it.
You.
Thanks for your time.
Great to talk to you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, see ya.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.